Things are great. How about you, Jim?
Gosh, you look way clearer. You got a new camera or something?
I do have a new computer, actually.
It, God, I'm
Is
gonna
it
have to
clear?
get.
I can't tell.
It's way clearer. What kind of
Oh,
computer
good.
is it? I want to buy one of those.
It's just a MacBook.
Oh, it's the new MacBook.
The new MacBook, yes.
That's why your camera is way better than my Dell here, and this Dell's
Oh
only
my
about
gosh.
a year and a half old.
That's
So
good to know.
yeah, I'm gonna have to make some arrangements. When the non-professional media guy looks better than the professional media guy, then we got an issue.
Jim, you're still the maestro of the airwaves.
Just ask me, I'll tell you. Hey,
You are the voice of Northwest Indiana, the maestro of the airwaves.
thank you. Hey,
My
Doc,
little camera can't change that.
we haven't talked in a while. We're talking to Dr. Sean Kondamuri, and he is with Midwest Interventional Spine Specialist. And he's got to take a phone call. Go ahead. Who's calling you? Is your wife?
Can I take it? If we haven't started yet, I can take it.
If you need to take it, go ahead. I'm just sitting here.
Uh,
No, we're ready to go. Okay,
You're right.
unless it's the hospital calling and some guys in pain. And
I think it's okay.
yeah, you think it's okay? It's
I think it's okay.
yeah, Midwest Interventional Spine Specialist. Now, what I do, Doc, is I just take it on the air, and I go, "Hey, what the hell are you calling me for?" And then they don't. Everybody always checks to see if I'm on the air before they call me now. Hey, Doc is with Midwest Interventional Spine Specialist. Sometimes we talk spine, sometimes we talk wellness, sometimes we talk vaccines. But I would, if it's okay with you, I would like to start with the vaccine because we just had a pretty big announcement today. Um,
Well,
we
yeah,
had
let
Beth
me know what the
Robel,
announcement is.
and I was saying, I mean, I just thought I was having a woman on late in the show today. She goes, "Oh my God, I just got off the Zoom with the governor's office, and we just announced that everybody has gone down from 70 to 65-year-olds can get it as of today at 9 o'clock. So
That's good news.
that's a big difference. Now, your
That's,
reaction to that news?
I think that's huge news, Jim, because, for example, just today I saw a patient. Mom was about 82, and the daughter was maybe 63, let's say, somewhere around that range, low 60s. So mom had already gotten her first vaccination. She's due for a second one in a couple of weeks. But her daughter, who is the caretaker, has not been vaccinated. And that daughter takes her to her doctor's visits, her hospital visits, whatever it might be. And, you have a whole group of people who are pretty healthy, apparently healthy, but they're not getting vaccinated. So now, I mean, that people at the 65-year mark are able to get vaccinated because it's going to mean safety. It's going to mean a quicker path to herd immunity.
You're right. I mean, my wife actually takes care of her really elderly ones, and I'm like, or goes up, I'm like, geez, I don't know, I don't like that. It just seems a little bit risky to them more than anybody. You know what I mean? If you're
Yes.
carrying it or whatever, you're probably going to make it through. But man, just one little viral load going in them. So I wonder if they're going to do that for like, younger people that are taking care of their elderly parents. That seems, I mean, I think if you're like a licensed caretaker, you can get it. But if you're just a family member, I don't think you can get it yet.
You can't. You don't. You have to meet you have to meet the age criteria or whatever it is, and it is a difficult situation because if they aren't getting vaccinated, even when they want to be vaccinated, they're actually posing a risk. And one of the issues is not. I mean, I'm happy that they've lowered the age limit, but one of the problems we have is supply. Is there going to be enough supply to actually give those vaccinations to people? In many states, we don't have that. I mean, we don't have people aren't getting it. It's very interesting. Indiana seems to be pretty good, I think, at least here in Northwest Indiana. I haven't heard of people not getting the vaccine. They're having to wait a lot longer now. I know that people who scheduled this in late January aren't getting vaccinated until early March now. It is a longer waiting list, but at least you're going to get it. I spoke to a colleague in Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. It's terrible. You can't, you may register for the vaccine. You might be on the list to have the vaccines done on a particular day. Then they'll call you and say it was canceled.
We're
So
talking to Dr. Sean Kondamuri. If you have any questions about back pain or any of that, or if you have any questions about wellness or vaccines or anything, doctor is not an immunologist, and we just kind of go at it from the side, but he does have a certain insight into what's going on. So one of the things that Beth brought up with, I think it's Healthful Link, and I want to say they provide health care in like East Chicago and Michigan City, and into some of the lower income areas, if I remember correctly. And she's talking about, some of the groups don't want to take it. So they're actually, sometimes they get to the end of the day and there's extra vaccine and they just want to make sure everybody gets it, but they don't know, who's going to, why some people aren't taking it, and it's hard to project because you really don't know. Now we go down to 65. You think there's going to be a stampede? There may or may not.
I bet you there will be a pretty good, a high rate of people wanting to get that vaccine in that 60, 65-year age group. They're going to come. The difficulty has been among some healthcare workers. For example, if you look at doctors, I haven't spoken to a doctor who hasn't taken the vaccination. They're all getting the vaccines. Most nurses are getting the vaccines. But I did read recently that, like, if you look at some of the nursing homes that are out there, all the nursing home patients are getting the vaccination, but the nursing home workers, that might be CNAs or assistants, some nurses, some other attendants, they're not getting the vaccine. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and I can understand why they're not getting themselves vaccinated. There's a lot of ambivalence there. I mean, I think I remember reading somewhere, on the order of less than 50% of healthcare workers within a nursing home, these aren't doctors, some of them are nurses, but other categories of healthcare workers aren't getting the vaccine. And there's a number of reasons for that. I can't blame them, actually.
Yeah, everybody's got their own view on it, and, there's a ton of information out. We actually did a video with Dr. West, and, guys asked me to do it, so I sent my production team out. We did a video to kind of just put some of the information out, and I feel like it didn't even land, man. People didn't share it around. It's like people don't really, it almost seems like they have their mind made up one way or another, and there isn't too much persuasive info right now that's going to...
Well, so think about it, Jim. If you're a CNA, for example, you've been dealing with this COVID crisis for the last 1 year, and early on, we didn't have PPP to go around for everybody. So there are a lot of CNAs or other attendants who were told, well, you have to come to work, you have to do all this. But by the way, we don't really have PPP for you. We don't have masks for you to wear. There's a shortage on this. And, but yet you still have to do this. Now we're telling them you should be getting the vaccination. And there's a little bit of perhaps some distrust there, or there's some hard feelings there. And there's also concerns. Everybody is worried about, did this vaccine get pushed out too quickly? Is it safe? What are the long-term effects? So these are legitimate concerns that people have. And, it's good that you spoke to Dr. West and he put that out there, because everyone who puts it out there, if they hear it enough, at some point, somebody will believe someone and they'll get it done. That's why a lot of my doctor friends are posting videos of themselves or pictures of themselves on Facebook while they're getting their vaccination, to just show people that they're doing it, and maybe somebody will follow.
That's interesting that you say that you don't know a doctor friend who decided against it. That is a pretty strong statement.
Yeah. And, again, here, that's another point. So my doctor friends, they're reading the studies. They know the data. They look at the data very carefully, and they're like, well, it makes more sense to get the vaccine, take a little bit of risk, but then prevent the big risk of actually getting COVID-19. They know the consequences of that. So that's why they're getting it done. But we can't expect that our CNA friends are going to read the data. They're not going to read the scientific studies. They're listening to social media. They're listening to all the alarming reports that are out there on different news outlets, even the big news outlets like CNN or whatever. They're throwing out stuff that scares people. And that's all. If that's all you see, I can't blame them for not understanding why they should get the vaccination.
Doctor, it's weird that you say that, because, I was quoting to my brother-in-law the other day. I'm like, I watch the television and I go back and forth through PBS and CNN and Fox and Bloomberg. And I'm all over the map in terms of watching just about everybody, because I want to be able to talk. And I swear that I almost feel sometimes like people are just stabbing at the wind. They're like going at windmills or something. And I feel as if, I talked to you, I talked to John Doherty, I talked to Dr. Bobby Lala. Today I talked to Beth from HealthLink. I feel like getting this local information from people. All right, I kind of trust you. We've gotten to know each other.
You kind of trust me, Jim?
I trust you. No, I do trust you and all the other people, because I've known them for a long time, and you seem pretty certain in it. And then you're not trying to sell ads on your TV network or anything. And I feel like most people are probably like me, like they watch all this stuff and you're like, man, I don't know what to believe. It's like one day it's this way, one day it's that way. And maybe that's part of the problem that you bring to that, is that how do we know what information to believe, really? It's all changed so many times.
You're exactly right, Jim. For example, you're talking to me. I'm a spine specialist. We hardly spend 5 or 10% of our conversations about what I really do. So when I'm talking about vaccines, when I'm talking about, appropriate health measures you should take to just help yourself, I hope I'm just helping people. I'm not benefiting from that personally, or my practice is not benefiting from that. But if you look at a news organization and they splash on this big headline that says, for example, the J&J vaccine is only 66% effective. So then everybody's jumping in there. They want to click on that. They're like, oh my God, only 66% effective when the Pfizer vaccine is 95% effective. Well, I don't want the J&J vaccine now. So they click on that. And when they click on that, they see ads. They click on the ads. The news organization now makes money from those ads. It's, the term is clickbait, right? They just want to put up something that really is going to just excite you and make you want to click on that, get a dopamine rush, and then they sell whatever they're selling. So the motivation is there. Remember I told you months ago, I mentioned that we should not watch the news for more than 10 minutes a day. That's
Good.
it. You should not watch the news.
That's why I do mostly entertainment anymore. I agree with you, but it is addicting. And a lot of people, I believe, are just flat out addicting, which brings us to our next topic. Eat less, move more, stress less, love more. And I've repeated that many times on my show, and I've repeated it. I do a little podcast now, and I've repeated it a number of times. I think right now it's as important as ever right now, as we're getting ready for the vaccine. People got to stay vigilant and keeping their health up.
You're absolutely right, Jim. And let's talk about the stress less piece. Going along with what we just spoke about, we all have to realize that our emotions, the emotions that we keep inside of us, that actually affects your immune system. I heard somebody once say we should think of it as immunity, not immunity. E for emotions, not immunity. If you appear calm, cool, and collected on the outside, but you're actually very stressed on the inside, your immune system is not being fooled. It knows what's happening on the inside. And then if you're suppressing those emotions, you start producing cytokines. And you're going to be at a higher likelihood to have a weakened immune system and be susceptible to COVID-19 or other illnesses. There are people who are like ruminators, for example, who just are always worried, and they're thinking about things in their head, and they may appear on the outside to be really calm, but they're always worried and everything is bothering them. And we know, there's been studies that show that there's an increased immune response, and there are more cytokines produced, more physiologic changes, higher heart rates, higher blood pressure, and then more susceptibility to disease. So we really have to do things to control our stress and to control our emotions, because it literally has an impact on our medical condition, our health.
That is for 95% of my audience is like worriers, just so you know. Yes. I'm a big worrier, and really the only way that I feel like I can balance it is at times is extreme workouts. Typically I'm not really working out that heavy, but I've been doing it lately, hitting the weights and doing the stretching and all that stuff, just because I believe that it kind of balances. I don't know why. It just feels better than not doing it, put it that way.
Exercise is absolutely important. We've talked about that in the past, Jim, and we'll talk about it again in the future. Exercise is super important, but we've got to remember when we're exercising for a half an hour or an hour, like let's say at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, which is fantastic because there's great long-term benefits to that and downstream benefits for that for the rest of your day. But you need to be doing things even during the day. You need to be doing things regularly throughout the day. And that might mean simple things that don't even require a lot of physical exertion. Things like just trying to meditate. Take time for yourself for a minute. Maybe journal for a minute. I cannot overstress the importance of taking time, the importance of a little bit of meditation, and journaling. Meditation and journaling, something that sounds sort of woo, but it has been proven if you, for example, if you meditate for a period of time and you think, just kind of call out those emotions that you're struggling with or the stresses you're feeling and write them down, journal it. They've done functional MRI studies that show that now the part of the cortex, your cerebral cortex in your brain that gets activated is activated. And now the emotional, it's called the amygdala part of your brain, is now going to get suppressed. The amygdala part of your brain is where the emotions are. So then your higher functioning now controls those emotions, and your blood pressure goes down, and your physiological response, which leads to further stress and, getting you all hyper and excited and worried, all that is going to get lowered down. You get the same effect from breathing properly. There's a book that recently came out called Breathe, not recently, but a few years ago. And they talk about how important it is just to breathe. Do you know that they've looked at just when you're writing a text, or if you're checking an email, they found that people who are checking their emails or checking their tests literally stop breathing, or they breathe at a slower rate during that 15 seconds or that minute or that 2 minutes. And if you're checking text all day long, if you're checking email all day long, you're breathing way less. And when you're under breathing, that has lots of downstream negative effects. So there's breathing exercise that you can do. You can do some breathing exercise. You can do some meditation and journaling, simple things. You can Google this stuff, and it will benefit you tremendously with regards to lowering your stress.
We're talking to Dr. Sean Kondamuri with Midwest Interventional Spine Specialists. And let's be straight, we started this out kind of like some of the other shows that I do, where it had a specific purpose, and that is to, kind of talk about the advances and what's going on in spine care and in pain. Pain management is also a big one that Doctor and his associates do. But, kind of as a service, I know that, a number of people have said they appreciate you being so open on what, your experience has been from a medical guy. But let's talk a little bit of spine right now, okay? Right now, there are a lot of people sitting on their asses, and they're not doing much. And is it possible that if it wasn't COVID and that it wasn't cold out, that some of the people would be able to get out and get some regular movement to their bodies, and that might cut down on some of the degradation of their spines or some of the increase in their pain?
Definitely, Jim. It goes to the move more piece of our common phrase that we use. Part of that, one of those is move more. If people are at home working from home and they're on their computers all the time and they're on Zoom calls, and sometimes video Zoom calls, they can't get away. They can't really do anything but focus on this call. At times you can just shoot to audio and get up and do a little bit of exercise, do some squats, do some jumping jacks, walk around the room while the audio is still on. And you need to be doing that regularly. I mean, as you mentioned, many people are at home now working, and it is not moving, not getting that regular exercise is going to add to your stress. If you can move your body and get the blood circulating through your body by simply doing a few jumping jacks, or some squats, or some high knees, or whatever you can do, even simply walking a couple of times an hour during your day, that will help relieve your back pain. It'll help increase your core strength. It'll help increase your cardiovascular system. It'll help every part of your body, all of which leads to better brain health also, of course.
It's so weird that, you're saying that, and all I'm thinking of is right now I want to get up and do that. And I agree with you entirely. A lot of people that's all they're doing right now is Zoom. Typically maybe they walk to the train, they'd stand on the platform, they'd have to climb up, they'd have to walk across the loop, and, we'll go up and down stairs if they are on a couple of things, and then maybe walk out for lunch. All of that's been wiped out. I mean, they're just walking from their bedroom to their Zoom, and unless they consciously do something, all of the normal movement is out of the way. And I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is that you gotta make yourself do it at times.
You got to do it. Jim, leg strength, the strength of muscles in your leg are one of the best indicators for long life and quality of life. When I watch old people, I watch to see how they're walking. I watch to see how they get out of their chair. Do they use their arms to get out of the chair, or do they use their legs? Can your grandmother or your older mother climb? Can she walk a little bit briskly for her age? Can she climb up up the curb easily. All of that is very important because leg strength, again, is an indicator, one of the best indicators of long life and quality of health. If you have good leg strength, you also have good brain health. Good leg strength, good quality of life, good brain health. The medical term for having muscle wasting is called sarcopenia. That happens when somebody's like laying in a bed for a month because of a bad lung condition from COVID, for example. When they come out of this, if they're older, they're going to lose all their muscle mass. That sarcopenia can happen from a number of reasons. When you have that sarcopenia, the deconditioning of the muscles, all leads to decreased lung capacity, poor breathing, and sad to say, it leads to morbidity, which is like illnesses and problems with your health and potentially even death. These are such important things. Just walking. I tell patients to walk. I'm sure some of them are thinking in their head, Doc, why do I need to walk? What's the big deal? I work. I have a job where I'm moving around a lot, but you're telling me to walk. There's so much benefit to walking, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that when I have time to explain it like I am now, I can explain it to some people and they'll understand. And some people just take my word for it and they'll do it. But many don't. They go home after a hard day of work and all they do is they watch TV. They become couch potatoes, soaking in all that bad news that we hear out there, getting more and more stressed about what's happening on Capitol Hill and what's happening everywhere else. And that is not good for our emotional health.
Dr. Sean Kondamuri. And if you know what, I haven't even said it. If you guys want to talk to him, 219-845-1100. I saw that phone was actually ringing and I didn't get to it. But if you want to call back, 219-845-1100, or you can text to this. I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse, but a guy texts here and says, when we go to get the vaccine, do we have a choice of which brand? I don't know the answer.
No, so that's a great question because people are reading the data and they might say, I don't want a particular vaccine. I want the other one because they think they perceive that it's better. You won't have a choice. Wherever you go, that hospital has a supply of whatever they have, and that's what they're going to give you.
All right.
I've been on the website, the Indiana website that you go to register. There's no checkbox to say I want this particular vaccine. You get what you're going to get. And the J&J vaccine we've been hearing a lot about now, Jim. I want people to not think that that's a bad vaccine because of that 66% number. There's more to it than that. It's a one-shot vaccine, which is huge. There's a lot of people that get, if you get a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, you need 2 shots. A lot of people are not getting that second shot. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I know some people are scared because they hear about somebody who had a reaction to their second shot. They don't want to have their second shot. And in their minds, they're saying, well, I've got enough immunity just from the first shot. Well, that's not true. You're not getting enough immunity from the first shot of the Pfizer or the Moderna. But the J&J one shot gives you significant immunity. In America, it was 72%. The trials that were done in the US were 72%. And 1 month later, if you look at severe disease, 85% were protected from severe disease. That's huge. And remember, one shot's a big deal. It's a lot easier. It's less stressful. You'll get it done, where people are not necessarily going to do the 2-shot regime.
Dr. Sean Kondamuri, all right, we got to say something about spines. All right, in your experience or in your history here, what is the procedure that you have done the most on the spine?
The procedure I do the most, which I've probably done more than 10,000 times in these last 25 years, is the transforaminal epidural injection. And that's a commonly used procedure for people who have pain from their spine, who have sciatica, who have spinal stenosis or a disc herniation. And this is the most common procedure because these are the most common conditions: sciatica, disc herniation, spinal stenosis. These happen so commonly among my patients that this procedure gets done a lot. Very safe procedure. We're giving them a small dose of a steroid right onto the nerve, right on the spinal nerve that's causing the sciatica. You put that there within 1 or 2 injections, sometimes 2 or 3 injections. We calm down all that inflammation and we take the pressure off that nerve. Sometimes it's like the J&J vaccine, 1 injection, and they're good for life. I have people come to see me 10 years later sometimes. Sometimes it's like the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. They need 2 injections or maybe 3, but then they're also good for a long time. This also assumes, Jim, that they're exercising afterwards, that they're going to continue to exercise, they're going to lose some weight, and they're not going to do things that are going to put them at risk. If you pick up a sofa, without thinking about it properly at home, you might re-injure yourself.
He's Dr. Sean Kondamuri, and I'm just smiling because you really made it very simple. We already went all the way through the vaccines, and so you use that amazing analogy, one shot, or it'd be like the Johnson, and then the other one. That's pretty good. He's Dr. Sean Kondamuri, sponsoring here at WJOB, Midwest Interventional Spine Specialist. Anything else, Doc?
No, I think that's great, Jim. I think that I don't want to, again, overstress the importance of controlling your stress. And, eat less, move more, stress less, love more. Very important. Those are the things that everybody can think about all the time. There are simple little things you can do in your life that'll improve your nutrition, it'll improve your health, your emotional well-being, everything.
All right. We'll get to that again next time. Doc, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.